Guys, this is Haley Garcia with Sweetwater Ranch coming at you with another video. So today's intro is going to be pretty short. We're doing some more canning and we're going to can hot spicy pickles, which I'm really excited for because I love hot spicy pickles. So let's just skip the intro and get in the kitchen. Here in the kitchen, as you can see, we do a lot of cooking in our videos because we are a cooking family. But today we're not just cooking, we are going to be cold packed canning hot spicy pickles, which I'm really excited for. I've never canned it before, but I sure can eat a whole jar completely by myself. So what we're doing now is we're just going to make the brine for the pickles. And we are doing a double batch, so everything that I mentioned you want to cut in half. So what I've got here is I've got 2 quarts of apple cider vinegar, 2 cups of salt. It's a cup of salt for every quart of vinegar, and then we're going to add 6 quarts of water for the double batch. Again, we're doing double batch, so one run is 1 quart of apple cider vinegar, 1 cup of salt, and 3 cups of water. So we're gonna add all of that together, and then we're gonna heat it up on the stove to, dissolve the salt and mix everything together and get it nice and hot. So we're gonna do that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next step.
That's a lot of cucumbers.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the pot over on the stove, and we had to transfer it to the stock pot because the normal pot wouldn't hold 2 runs of the brine. So what we're doing now is we're heating up the brine, and you want it to get extremely hot. Now again, you are learning this as I am learning this. We are learning it together. But what I have heard and learned from my mother is that this, depending on how hot it is what seals the jars. So you want it to be extremely hot, and we're also heating up our rings and lids to get the seal a little bit soft. That way when it does seal onto the jars, it'll seal nice and tight and it won't pop open before you open it. So got to make sure this is extremely hot, because otherwise the jars won't seal and you've lost an entire run of pickles. So we're going to let this heat up and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step obviously is you've got to wash the cucumbers. Now, if you've ever had cucumbers that are not from the store and freshly grown, they have like these little white prickly things on them, and they hurt if you put them in your mouth. So you want to wash those off and just sort of like pop them off with your nail. And then you want to make sure that you just get all the dirt and stuff off the cucumbers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash them all at once and put them on the other side of the sink. And then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so half the cucumbers are washed. It's a lot of cucumbers, so we're having to split them in 2 different things. But right now we're gonna work on this side and the clean ones, and we're gonna cut them and put them in the jars to start the pickling process. Yes. Okay, so you want to cut both of the ends off, but you don't want to cut too much off because then you're just wasting cucumber and you won't get pickle out of it. So, cut the 2 ends off. And I stand it up just to make sure I get down the middle, and then you cut it into each one into 4. So you're gonna get about 8 slices of pickles out of 1 cucumber. So they'll look about like that, just in 4s. And then you're gonna stuff them in here. Make sure they're standing up. If you have to turn the jar over, do it. But you wanna make sure you pack it in good and make sure all the holes are filled and you have no excess room, because you want to have a lot of pickles in the jar. See, I'm having to turn it over to get more pickles, more cucumbers into the jar. So you'll do that until all your jars are filled and packed really good, and then we'll move on to the next step here in just a second. Okay, so we've got our quart jars packed with our cucumbers. We haven't even gotten halfway through the bushel of cucumbers, but we have 14 quart jars of what's going to be pickles, which is a double run. So if you're doing a full bushel of cucumbers, you need a lot of quart jars. So what we're planning on doing is we're going to use some of them to put into pint jars, and instead of cutting them into spears, we're going to cut them into little dill round ones. I couldn't think of the word for a second there. But for now, we are going to fill these with the spices and herbs that go in it to make it the hot and spicy pickles. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take 1/8 of a teaspoon, and we're going to put 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder in it. Not much, because you don't want it to be too garlicky. And that's for a quart jar. Then you're going to take a 1/2 teaspoon, and you're going to put cayenne powder, the cayenne pepper powder, and put a 1/2 teaspoon of that in there. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of the red crushed pepper flakes. Just a 1/2.
Shout out to Pioneer Woman again.
Yeah, we're using all of her stuff. Yay. Okay. So now you want to take 1 teaspoon, and you want to put 1 teaspoon of alum in the thing, alum powder. And then you're gonna need a tablespoon of the thing that makes it the pickles, and you want to use a full tablespoon of dill seed into the jar. And you're gonna do that for each jar. And after I'm gonna go ahead and get these filled up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I made a little mistake. Our pickles are gonna be extra firm and crunchy because it's not a teaspoon of alum, it's 1/4 of a teaspoon of alum. So again, don't listen to me. It's 1/4 of a teaspoon of alum, not a teaspoon. Ours is just gonna be really, really crunchy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the brine to the jars and burp it with our little burper thing. If you was watching the last canning video of peaches, you saw that this goes down the side of the jar and you pull back just to let the bubbles out. Getting all the air out so that there's no air to keep it from sealing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on it, which we have heated up to where it's softened the seal, and we're going to put the lid on it and set it to the side to where it can seal and cure for 7 to 14 days. You cannot eat it for 7 to 14 days because it is not pickled yet. So I'm going to do that and get this started, and then I guess finish the rest of the pickles. Okay, so we got the pickles done-ish. We've got the 14 quart jars done, and right now we're letting them sit to seal, and they will cure for 14 days. Until then, we can't eat them. As of right now, I'm going to take a break, and then come back and finish the pickles, because this took like about an hour and a half, maybe longer. So I'm gonna go take a break, maybe snack on something, and come back and finish the pickles. But I will see you guys here in just a few minutes. Okay, so we got the pickles done. Where I left y'all, I still had a ton of cucumbers to cut and turn into pickles. A whole bushel actually gave us 31 quarts and about 17 pints of the round. We just got done with them a few minutes ago, so I am tired. It takes a long time to do a full bushel of cucumbers and turn them into pickles, but we got it done. Now we have pickles for the winter, and whenever I want pickles, yay! So I'm so excited. They have to sit for 7 to 14 days to cure. And I was going to tell you, if your jars do not seal, you can put them in a hot water bath to warm up the juices and the seal. And just once the water bath starts boiling, just do it for 15 minutes, and that should seal them up nice and tight. I'm gonna have to do that with some of mine. Some of them didn't seal, so we're gonna do that tomorrow. But if you go to my canning peaches video, then you will see how to water bath them, because the peaches are a full water bath canning method. So come back again, and we'll see y'all later here on Sweetwater Ranch.